you there. It's been wonderful to read poetry all over again, especially after Sony and Sonia took us on a tour on their experiences about reading and writing poetry. Today we have with us Shobana. Shobana Kumar is one of my very dear friends who has brought out a collection of Haibun. Let's hear what she has to talk about Haibun and how much Haibun reading and Haibun writing has changed her life. Welcome to Shobana and welcome to Poetry Salad at NMJ.
Hello, Nitya. Thank you very much for this very precious honor. I'm going to get straight to the questions. The first question you asked is, what is Haibun? Haibun is a traditional Japanese form of short poetry that combines prose with haiku. Now, Haibun predominantly has three elements. The first is, of course, the title. The second is the prose, and then you have the haiku. Haibun always does not carry haiku as part of it, but traditionally this is how it's usually written. The first instance, to put it in a little bit of context, the first instance of Haibun ever recorded was about 400 years ago, when Matsuo Basho, who's the father of, we call him the father of haiku and haikai writing, he put together a book called The Narrow Road to the Interior, which contained several autobiographical texts, rich with vivid imagery and accompanied by haiku. So this is what emerged as Haibun. The first instance of Haibun recorded in the English writing world goes back to 1964, written by a Canadian poet. And ever since then, Haibun has sort of become a very, very popular form, especially in the recent years. You see it being written by poets, haikai poets from all over the world. And it is indeed a very, very beautiful form to understand and explore. How does one write Haibun? I think I would like to tell a little bit on that. There is a principle called link and shift that we popularly use in haikai writing. So you have the title, and then the prose links to the title, not directly alludes to it, but links to the title, but sort of leaps away from it. And then you have the haiku that connects the prose and also sort of leaps from it. Links to the prose, but leaps from it. So you see there's a beautiful link and shift going on. Another very important aspect of the Haibun is the prose and the haiku work as two mirrors, each reflecting each other. It's a sort of a tango, you see. So it's a beautiful combination of prose with haiku, and that's what makes it a very beautiful form to engage with. And when one writes Haibun, it might do well to remember this, that Haibun is always written with the spirit of haikai. Right? I'm going to deal with that in the forthcoming question. I wouldn't call Haibun a rigid form of poetry any more than one would call free verse a rigid form of poetry. We all know how much work serious writing involves. So, Haibun, yes, has certain principles. Most of us who have embarked on the Haibun journey have not embarked on it without um, spending a few years trying to grasp the essence of haiku. You see, even though the haiku is on 3 lines, there are a lot of aesthetics that govern it. How does one write? What does one leave out? So it's not 3-line like poetry. So Haibun carries the same aesthetics of haikai writing. So there is a demand, there is an onus on the writer to understand these perspectives first. So it might, let me give you a few examples of what Haibun is not. So Haibun is not cerebral poetry, right? It's not. There is no room for using. Haibun also eschews the use of philosophy in its writing. So it places the writer in the context of a witness, right? And perhaps the most distinguishing feature of a Haibun is that it carries very vivid imagery, very rich imagery, a very rich source of imagery. That's what makes it striking. And there's, of course, the element of brevity. So you don't write a book of haiku interspersed with numerous haiku. You pick a story, and then if the story lends well to the narrative of a haibun, then you employ the haibun in it. And once you've done this, then there are ways to push the boundaries of the haibun. But it is very. I don't remember who it was who said, if you want to break rules, learn them first, right? So I would urge writers who want to explore haibun as a form to explore what haiku writing is, what haikai writing is, and then gently graduate to the haibun form before pushing the boundaries of the haibun. There are numerous writers who are doing phenomenal jobs of experimenting with the haibun form, but to be able to do that, one needs to understand where the aesthetics first arrives, and this is where the elements of the haibun are very, very important. So you don't grab a title of the haibun from within the prose. There has to be a link and shift between the title and the haibun, as I explained in the previous for the previous question. And then, of course, the haiku sort of mirrors the prose. There's a little bit of a dance, and a very important aspect is after the reader has finished reading the haibun, it's sort of incomplete. Right? There is a lot left for the reader to interpret, and I think this is what makes the form so utterly beautiful. So that's that. That's the haibun. Happy writing, everyone. So, Nitya, thank you for requesting me to read from the book Sky for the Bucket List. This was published by Red River in 2021. So I've just put 3 haibun to read for you. The first is called Rorschach Test. Rorschach Test. Caffeine clouds the cream. Steam spirals. The hostess checks for sugar. Her elderly neighbor likes 2 heaped teaspoons. She pours him a cup, all the time wondering if his tremors would make him drop it. Fairy tale. A forest trail appears from nowhere. Fairy tale. A forest trail appears from nowhere. He hasn't eaten, he says. Even though he lives with his son, he hasn't eaten, he repeats. He tells her she is like a daughter, hands her back her treasured china after a few grateful gulps. Suddenly, the cracks don't matter anymore. Stiletto sounds fading into the night. Crickets. Stiletto sounds fading into the night. Crickets. The odor lingers long after the cleaning. Patches have settled on the muted gold paper. After a few days, they meld into the walls. Cobwebs, remnants of yesterday, glint in the sun. Cobwebs, remnants of yesterday, glint in the sun. The second one I'm going to read for you is called Alchemy, and here it goes. Nursery rhymes, one by one, the miners take off. Nursery rhymes, one by one, the miners take off. In 1958, he was a strapping young man who had just returned from Minnesota. He could have got himself any job. Instead, he plunged headlong into teaching. The room is sparse, and he urges his son to draw the only wooden chair for the visitor. His eyes light up at the year 1965. Yes, that is when he spent 4 nights in a row tending to a bunch of sick adolescent boys in a hostel. Fridge magnets, home, just a pit stop now. Fridge magnets, home, just a pit stop now. His quivering hands reach out for a handwritten note that he has spent the entire morning writing. He regales the visitor with anecdotes of a time when all a teacher had to rely on was the blackboard and chalk. Of course, some histrionics and a theatre voice, he adds, laughing. At the college reunion, he is remembered with great fondness, and then, like always, promptly forgotten. Another sundown, a fall of golden showers on the portage. Another sundown, a fall of golden showers on the portage. And finally, I'd like to read one more for you. It's called Apocalypse. In a cabbage farm 100 miles away, a field bursts with promise. But this time there is no truck waiting to transport them into the city. No middleman sauntering in claiming to know the market's best. Harvest song, a cradle squirms under a mango tree. Harvest song, a cradle squirms under a mango tree. The farmer sends out a distress call. When no one answers, he opens his field to the village livestock. Overheard ruminations, he sends out a warning of famine on the horizon. Again, his voice is muffled in an urbane cacophony. Rain clouds, traffic lights pause longer at the red. Rain clouds, traffic lights pause longer at the red. Thank you very much, Nitya, for this honor again, and I hope I've done justice to this beautiful form called Haibun. Thank you. Plenty of writers that I admire and have learned from. I've done a lot of collaborative writing with two eminent Haijin. Haijin is what haiku writing poets are called. Haiku writing poets are called Haijin, Haigin, Haijin. So this is Sonam Choki from Bhutan and Geetanjali Rajan from India. Both of them are highly prolific, very deeply rooted in Japanese aesthetics. Sonam brings with her the essence of Tibetan Zen Buddhism, and Zen philosophy that percolates into her writing. And Geetanjali has been a teacher of Japanese language for the last 20 years. So you can kind of imagine the kind of depth they bring to this art of haiku writing. So these are two Haibun writers I would urge you to please read. One of the things I forgot to mention with haiku and Haibun writing is it is something that makes you very conscious of the immediate environment. You see, the flora and the fauna, and you find this very, very much in these writers. Please look up these journals that I'm not going to mention specifically too many writers, because I think a great way to start would be to read some fantastic journals that are out, and you get to read the whole breadth of poets writing Haibun today, Haijin writing Haibun today. So on that list, I would say please read Cattails, Cattails, Cattails. Please read Cafe Haiku. Cafe Haiku is a blog put together by some eminent poets, Haijin in Mumbai and Chennai. Please read Triveni. Triveni is a very popular website that is headed by Kala Ramesh, one of the preeminent figures in the haiku writing movement we have in India and across the world today. For some fantastic push the envelope Haibun, there is the Other Bunny run by Johannes Bjerg from Denmark. It's a fantastic journal for people looking to push the envelope, experimental Haibun and the works. Then, of course, there is Contemporary Haibun Online, CHO as we popularly call it. And some of the writers that immediately come to mind are Terry H. French, Alan Summers, Johannes Berg, Johannes Manjrekar, Anjali Deodar. Please look up Anjali Deodar's writing. She was one of among India's senior-most writers of haiku, and she has been a personal mentor to many of us writing the form today. She passed on in 2018, but her light and love just lingers on. So please write, please try to read. And she put together some seminal anthologies of over about 4 or 5 years, and these anthologies are available on Amazon. They're called Journeys, edited by Anjali Deodar, spelled Angelee, Anjali Deodar. Fantastic anthologies of Haibun, which will give you a broad depth and breadth of what Haibun writing is all about. So that's too many names actually. Alan Summers, too many names to not miss out. So that's why I go with journals, because then you can get to read all these poets. Read the British Haiku Society. Read Mamba, the African journal run by Adeji. Please read all this, and you'll get a fantastic idea of who is writing Haibun today.